Yeah, well, that's just like your opinion, man.
Hello again, Irish Dude here. If, like me, you've been a watcher on YouTube for a while, and you're a person of a more skeptical, cynical, some might say, mindset, you'll have seen many videos on things like safe spaces and trigger warnings. For those that don't know, these are ways of protecting impressionable young minds against anything that might challenge them or worry them overly. In some ways, you could draw an analogy with church service, religious groups, any kind of gathering where only one philosophy or mindset is explored. To me, this shows a similarity in thought process between people on the far left and sometimes people on the far right, or conservative mindsets. I did talk a little bit about this in my censorship video, but maybe we should have a little bit of a deeper look into this, explore the human psyche a little bit. I think we're all comfortable in our own truths, and anything that challenges that can be intrinsically uncomfortable to us. I think psychologically this is actually a fairly well understood phenomenon. Probably the reality is there's little lies that we are all comfortable with, and we don't like to have those lies challenged. A friend of mine recently posed a question to me talking about religious leaders. Most of them who come to mind are usually intelligent people, well educated, sophisticated people. So to kind of a pair of cynical atheists like us, we do wonder, do they actually believe all that nonsense? Now, to me, somebody like Pope Francis, I think probably is very sincere in his beliefs. But what happens to you when you've invested that much into these beliefs and they're challenged in some ways? How do we feel about that? Well, recently I think I've had some of my own assumptions challenged a little bit. Currently around the environment that we have in Europe, around the migrant so-called crisis. Now, I'm not going to get into the specifics of this, as it's a pretty rancid debate that I'd probably prefer not to touch. And you can find plenty of other people giving their views on the matter. But I'm going to take a slightly different look at this. Something I've often spoken to friends or colleagues about, and in some of my own studies, I've looked at the area of overpopulation and population growth. Now, as you may or may not be aware, the current population of the planet is over 7 billion, and this has grown hugely in the last few decades. Just taking those raw figures can give you a fairly simplistic view in these things, and you can get an attitude that anybody having a baby and somehow is just irresponsible with the way the world is now. But is that actually correct? Well, maybe not. Let's imagine for a moment a comfortable Western democracy that stops having children at a standard replacement rate. So if a lot of people, 20 to 30 somethings, with no great responsibilities, plenty of disposable income, and a nice retirement at the age of 65. And if it's typical of most modern societies, we've got excellent medical care. A lot of people are now living better, healthier lifestyles, so longevity is increasing. But this isn't a good situation. How are we going to fund sometimes 20 or 30 years of retirement with an ever-shrinking workforce? This is a problem that's been known about for a long time. I can remember reading about this back in the 80s. It was the first time I heard the term demographic collapse. And basically what you have is a top-heavy society. You have a lot of people who are at retirement age or non-productive, and not very many people at working age. You also have other more subtle problems. Younger people are more creative. They invent more things. They're more innovative. And many of us really do our greatest contributions past the age of 40. So why don't we see more of this spoken about in the popular media? Plenty of them have a lot to say about immigration and its problems or how good it is, but nobody really talks about maybe the real reason why it's happening. So is the reality for a country like Germany's, which fit very well the scenario I've outlined, that they've actually got no alternative except to take in large amounts of immigrants. Depending on who you believe, Germany has taken in a huge number of migrants over the last couple of years. Now, I've heard the arguments both for and against this. But the fact is that Germany now has one of the lowest birth rates in the world. So if we were to be cynical, say that Angela Merkel realizes this, and that's why she's allowed so many immigrants in, it does strike you as being very, very poorly planned. So what is the uncomfortable reality here? The fact is that in 50 years' time, countries like Germany, and probably to a lesser or greater extent France and Britain, are going to look very different to the countries that we see now. We've basically created a world where we reward long working hours, and we also look to encourage women to stay in the workplace and become productive citizens. We almost punish those who decided they want to have a family. If a woman makes that decision that she wants to have a family, but then return to the workplace, she can sometimes find herself very far behind her peers. Being somebody who believes in things being decided on merit, I maybe have to have a personal rethink about that. We maybe need to start finding ways to encourage women to have children, but still be able to return to the workplace properly. Yet the cost of childcare has skyrocketed in recent years. So what are the answers? Or is it already too late? In my view, importing a large number of migrants into a country from societies that are very different from yours is not really very clever. But maybe from some nations, it's already too late. Nordic countries have done a lot to encourage women to have children, and this has helped keep their fertility rate higher than Germany, Italy, and Poland, who are all projected to show significant population declines in the coming years. Worldwide, it's projected that by about 2050, the global fertility rate per woman should be roughly 2.1 children. This is considered to be replacement level. Of course, some countries will be higher, and some will be lower. So immigration is probably inevitable. So I guess what I'm saying in my usual rambling style is that no matter what your opinion is on this issue, reality doesn't really care. Anyway, as I always say, that is just my opinion, and you're welcome to disagree with it, propose your own solutions, or look at it from a different angle. Thank you for listening. If you like what I've had to say, please like this video and please subscribe to the channel. Thank you. Bye bye now.